23 minutes before 10 o'clock. One of the most fascinating conversations I think we had in all the years we've done this, Robin, was a lady up in Barrow, Alaska, and she was an Inuit. How do you say Inuit?
Yes.
Lady, and she was basically talking about her concerns for the development of the area. For, I guess, Shell Oil was drilling not too far from where she was speaking to us from, and how it was affecting it, and the conversation about the Earth warming up. There was the story this past weekend about that NASA says that one of the Arctic ice shelves in Antarctica on the South Pole is going to be gone by the year 2020, which is 5 years from now. So it is an interesting thing. But when we were speaking to her, the one thing that I thought was that you're going to have people who argue with you. You're going to have people who say, no, that's not true. And how do the rest of us know? I mean, you only have a few people up there who can report to us what's going on. And then you have a lot of people who want us to believe perhaps what's in their best interest for us to believe. And I'm not taking sides. I'm just being careful. My dad told me to not trust anybody. So I use my dad's rule. There's a beautiful, well-written book called Nunavut. I hope I'm saying it right. It is a thriller, but in this book, there's a lot of fact that is used to tell this story. And I think sometimes telling a story in fiction in order to help us better understand something is the best way for the average man and woman to understand what's going on in the world. Roger Herst is the author of the book Nunavut. And let's see, he's on the phone right now. Good morning, Roger. How are you? Dr. Roger Herst. Good morning, Roger.
Yeah. I wrote this book because I was fascinated with Nunavut when I began reading about it. It's the largest piece of territory, as far as I can determine, that was given by a government, namely Canada, to its indigenous people, the Inuit people. They used to call them Eskimos, so put people in the picture, but no, that's the correct term is Inuit.
Okay. And, I didn't know that. Okay.
It's a self-governing territory. It's a self-governing territory, and it's immense. And what is fascinating is it is extremely rich in minerals, and the people who live there could potentially be the wealthiest people on the planet. As one of the characters says, he could be wealthier than the Gulf Arabs.
Really?
Because of the minerals, the gold, silver, gas, natural gas, uranium, and precious minerals which are there, all of them.
Are we civilized enough to not take advantage of them, or are they vulnerable and some country will become like pirates? I mean, it could even be us, and actually want to steal it from them, or connive them out of it. Connive.
Well, that's actually, you've gotten close to the story questions in the novel Nunavut, because it's in the center of a geopolitical tension between Russia, Canada, and the United States. We are actually arguing today in the United Nations about the water passageways through Nunavut, which are one of the famous one. The Northwest Passage goes right through there. And in the summertime, because of global warming, it's navigable these days, and shipping wants to go through. Question of who owns it and who gets to tax it, and who's required to police it.
So I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but when it was icier, were people actually living on the ice? Did some of their area that they could live on disappear?
Well, Nunavut is largely has large land masses to it. It's covered with tundra, with ice, but it's actual land. The difference, oddly enough, between the North Pole and the South Pole, the North Pole is water covered with land on it, which in the South Pole it's all land. The Antarctic is land. And there's a lot more water up there, but there's plenty of islands and big islands like Ellesmere Island and Baffin Island where communities live, and the Inuit people have lived from time immemorial.
Well, I think you are exactly what was needed, because this is the thought we had, and I wish I could remember the lady's name. Maybe you even spoke to her. She was a very well-known lady in the area.
Yeah, we did speak to her.
Yeah, we did, I know, but I was wondering if Dr. Herst did. But in any case, you had to research this. Did you have to go up there to research it?
I don't use the word research because I write fiction. But I do an immense amount of reading. I read and read and read and read. Some people would call that research. It's a heavy word. I don't really like it.
Okay.
But I did go there, absolutely. I went for 3 weeks to gather information, to get a feel for it, so that when I was writing the book, I'd have a sense of actually being there. It's extremely beautiful, but the signs of global warming are everywhere. The glaciers are...
When the people are living there on this land, in this area, do they file claim deeds for the borders of their property, or is it just something that the families know? This family lives here, this family lives there, and they don't do that type of thing?
They may file and some of the land in the large cities, but most of it belongs to the territory of Nunavut and is overseen by the Canadian government. But they have given them self-governance there, and there's not much of a land dispute. These people have lived together communally for centuries and centuries, and now, of course, as they're becoming more industrialized and more southern people coming to live in their area, they've had to modernize and do some of the things that modern communities do.
So what is the attraction? What is it about Nunavut, and it did whatever resources are there become accessible or available because of the melting ice?
You've got it. It's the melting ice that makes it accessible. Now ships can get in there and mining can be done. It's a very expensive proposition, but the rewards are tremendous. And the novel story, is about the development and non-development of some of these resources, and the conflicts which their own people get in, whether they should develop them or not. The premier, who's like the governor there, who was born on a small island, he doesn't believe in developing these. He's trying to do everything he can not to develop this, because he tells his people he thinks he's the George Washington of Nunavut. And he says, when we develop this, you'll become richer than the Gulf Arabs. And when you do that, you'll go and live in Florida, and your homeland will not exist anymore for you. There'll be no Nunavut anymore.
Huh.
Wow.
He says, this stuff doesn't belong.
Wow.
He says, this doesn't really belong to you in the first place. We are Inuit. We live on the land. What's below it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Mother Earth. We're only passing through.
It's a fascinating story.
You can't claim it because you've lived on the top of it.
What I meant, Doctor, what I meant earlier when I said that you are exactly what this area needed. I don't know that you feel this way, but what I meant by that is that we need to understand this area, and I think by putting it into a novel, it helps us understand it. It's just the way we are as people. We get to understand things that happened in history so much better once they were written into fictional stories.
Exactly.
Kind of weird. It's just
like
the way.
Cleopatra.
Yeah, exactly.
We personalize. We like to see things through people, and novels are usually about one or two people. And that's why my main character, Alicia Quillick, is a veterinarian who runs an animal hospital for marine mammals in Nunavut, following the healing tradition of the mythological Sedna, the goddess of the sea. And she is very special because she gets involved in geopolitical intrigue, but she's special because she realizes there's a primary relationship between animals and human beings. And as she says in the novel at one point, we have to learn to live with these animals. This is their area, but they have to live with us. They have to learn to live with us too.
Yeah.
And if you look around, even around where you live, you'll see that the animals are coming closer, and they're living closer to us on our lawns and in our forests all around us. And they're the deer who used to be so frightened when I moved to the East Coast. They're no longer frightened of people. They live with us.
That's true. That's true. Kind of cool, isn't it? Iguanas are here.
Yeah. They migrated
we need to take a little break. Fascinating subject, and the book Nunavut is what we're focusing on. It's written by Dr. Roger E. Herst. We'll be right back after this.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Times of clouds and sun today with a shower or thunderstorm in the area, mainly during the afternoon hours over the interior, the high 85 to 89. Partly cloudy tonight, low 68 to 72. Clouds and some sun tomorrow with a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 87 to 91. And on Wednesday, intervals of clouds and sun with an afternoon thunderstorm likely, high 89 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Career Source Citrus Levy Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source Citrus Levy Marion and learn how they can help you.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. So the way I look at this is that when people have nothing, nobody wants anything from them. When people have something or the potential for something, then other people want a piece of that, and sometimes to the detriment of the people who have it or should be entitled to it. And that sounds like what the novel is based on. Nunavut is the book. It's an Arctic thriller novel. It's written by Dr. Roger E. Herst. Doctor, it says here you are a teacher of story composition. So telling stories is something you've studied.
Oh, well, yes, I have done it all my life. I love stories because I think that's the way people do learn, and that's the stories stick to our bones. We forget facts over the years, but we don't. A good story will stick to our bones forever and teach us something about the world. And we learn by looking at what other people do and what other people think.
So, what do you think you're teaching us with this story?
That's a good question. I'm trying to teach about Nunavut, the homeland of the Inuit people. I'm trying to introduce people to an understanding of the northern hemisphere, the ice-covered northern hemisphere that they never have gone to, probably never will go to.
Right.
But it's an integral part of the planet, important for our climate, important for our transport, important for everything. And Nunavut's been stuck off in a corner of the planet for a long time, and has been given very little interest. In times are changing. It's going to become much more conflict area. Is
it conflicting? Is there a controversy regarding what the minerals and what the resources are? Like if it's oil, is there controversy over that? Are there other resources up there that we might need to be aware of?
Oh yes, precious metals, gold, silver, and in my story, primarily uranium. Because in my story, the United States has made a major turn for ecological reasons to nuclear energy for its power, and it's found that it doesn't have enough uranium to run many of these plants that they have established. It's taken a long time, but they've done it, and now the easiest place to get uranium is the closest place is Nunavut.
Is that factual? Is that something you made up?
We're not buying uranium from them now, but I think we will be in the future.
Okay.
And I do believe there's a strong future for nuclear energy in this country.
Are the current descendants now of the Inuit people, are they still living there on the land like their forefathers, or are most of them moving away?
Another good question. Some of them have gone to the capital of Iqaluit, which is the capital, about 5,000 people, and they they are urbanized, and part of the novel takes place in Iqaluit, in the capital. It's not a very sophisticated capital compared to some major Canadian cities, but it is that. And some are still living in settlements scattered throughout Nunavut. And the Canadian government wants to keep them scattered and wants to have these population centers, and we're talking about 200, 300, 400 people in different places in order to maintain its sovereignty over that area.
Wow.
Let's let the listeners get a word in here. Dr. Roger E. Herst is our guest. His book is Nunavut. It's a story, and it's a fictional. It's a novel, but he doesn't call it research, but he's done the research, and he's certainly teaching us about something. We actually get to do a little bit of research simply by reading this story. Good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Herst.
Yes. Good morning, Doctor. Did you mention, and where did the Inuit people originate from? To me, they look like they have a little Chinese, Oriental look to them.
Well, that's not my field, but the normal scholarship is that they originated in the Middle East or Africa and in China, and then they migrated further north, and they're part of the land passage of American Indians coming through the northern section and coming down into what's now the United States and Latin America.
Yeah.
That was the passage of people, and they're part of that long stream.
And I would imagine that those who live there have been there so long that I mean they are basically part of the land in Nunavut, rather than it's not like somebody who immigrated there like in the last generation or so.
No, they're very closely tied to the land and to the. They're hunter-fishers, and they, in their more primitive state, they have still maintained a living by fishing and by hunting. They still do it in some of the old ways and whaling, and so they keep very, very close to the land, and generation from generation is passed along.
The primary character is Nils. Is that right?
No. Is Alicia Quillick, who's the veterinarian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Her father, Nora Quillick, was the popular deputy prime minister. He's the one who dies, and there's a series of she's quite an attractive woman and very, very skilled, highly educated. She has 3 men vying for her affections, and that's part of the love story in the novel as well. One's the plastic surgeon she lives with in Vancouver. When she's not during the winter months, she can't run her hospital in the winter. And one is a Northwest mounted policeman who has a station up there. And the other is an attorney from Toronto who falls in love with Nunavut because he loves the sculpturing of it's famous for its sculpturing.
Wow! I didn't know any of this. It is a fascinating look. So, gosh, I don't even know where I fit. Where here's what I think about it. I'm trying to think what my opinion is. I mean, I would hate to see somebody have anything taken away from them. If this is theirs, they should have it. But it sounds like they might not even want it, but they don't want other people to have it either. And I guess if it's theirs, they have a right to say that. I guess that's the way I feel about it. What do you think?
Well, it's a question of intelligent and very intelligent and seasoned development. The world needs the products that they have and has a certain entitlement to be able to get them if they're properly paid for. But the development should be done with great intelligence to do as little damage as possible to the environment and to the way of life if they want to maintain their hunter-fisher way of life. And some do and some don't. I'm
wondering if this isn't going to be news, I don't know how long it would take for this to become news, but this seems like something that could really unfold. Your novel could be somehow prophetic.
Well, I think I hope it is, because I wrote it because I was looking forward to the future, but also found it absolutely fascinating, a part of the world that so many people knew nothing about, even Canadians. They know the name Nunavut. That's
really?
About all. Oh, they don't go north. They go south when they take their holidays. They go.
I know.
That's right. They're
I
here.
know.
I don't think you take your holidays in going north unless you were interested in the area for mining or for fishing or for some other reason.
Yeah, well, I hope you got a little joke there, because I don't know if you know, you're talking to Florida, and we certainly have our share of Canadian guests come here.
Of course.
We seem to be a popular location. Where are you calling from, by the way?
I'm Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
Your character, Alicia, she's very, very fascinating because it takes a special person. I mean, she's well educated, like you pointed out. She had to go to school outside of her area, yet she felt that passion and compassion to return.
Exactly. She feels it enormously, and her boyfriend from Vancouver, who's deeply in love with her, in the story, he buys a very expensive house in Vancouver that they were ogling over because it has a gorgeous view in Vancouver. And he spent all his money to buy this house and put himself into debt, hoping that she'd come back and marry him. And she comes back, and she just can't quite get there. She loves the house. She's very fond of him. I think she loves him too, but she knows that he will never live even a part of the year in Nunavut.
It's funny. He's the character you created, and you're not sure A character you created, but you're not sure if he loves it. I love that.
That's
So
fascinating.
it's kind of like you're God, and you created these people, but they've got free will.
Absolutely, they do. They absolutely they have lives of their own, and the beauty of writing novels is you get the privilege of being in somebody else's mind for a while and somebody else's heart.
Wow.
It's not yours. It's not me. It's them.
That is interesting. You know, that's almost spiritual in a way.
Yes.
So there are a lot of words in here that you need to look up their pronunciation, unless you can just do like I do and just make up my own and hope I'm right. But there were a lot of words from that part of the world that I just wasn't familiar with. Gosh. So
that's part of the learning experience.
Yeah. Is the book available as an audiobook? Because then I would have no problem.
This one is not.
No.
My other books are. This one is not yet. It will be in the future. It's available on Amazon. Amazon's the best place to do it because it's so reliable. You know, you find it, and it's there.
And see, what I like doing, I have a Kindle, and my Kindle has this reading feature. It's a female voice, and it'll read to me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I depend on the female feature to pronounce words for me that I don't know, but she gets it wrong a lot.
Yeah.
Like Saint Francis was Street Francis. I said Street Francis.
Of course.
I like the idea that this is a David and Goliath story, because you're always rooting for the underdog.
Hopefully David wins again.
It is. I mean, it was set up, even the first scene, if you remember that, where they go out, Alicia and the Northwest Mounted Policemen go out on snowmobiles, and they're trying to stop two icebreakers coming through, enormous icebreakers. And they're alone, and they bring a flag of Nunavut and a flag of Canada on them, and they call out, "Stop! You're in Nunavut, Canadian territory. You're trespassing." And their conflict starts on the first page with the captain, Melenchenko, of the Russian icebreaker.
Doctor, you're a master at your craft. We're out of time. Nunavut, Nunavut. Go buy it. Roger Herst, thank you so much for being with us today. Great job.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll be right back.
Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. The Source.
News Radio. I'm Pam Puso. When the first Amtrak train left Philadelphia for New York this morning, Mayor Michael Nutter was there.